Rain poured relentlessly that night, soaking the streets and washing away what little warmth the city had left. A young woman named Clara pulled her worn coat tighter, rushing home after another exhausting double shift at the diner. Her shoes were soaked through, her fingers numb, and her spirit nearly broken. Yet, as she passed the alley near the old bookstore, she heard a faint sound, not quite a cry, but a trembling whisper that stopped her dead in her tracks. "Ma'am, please, do you have something to eat?" She turned and saw him, a boy, maybe 12 or 13, sitting against a wall, drenched, his cheeks hollow and eyes too tired for someone his age. He held out his trembling hands, and for a moment, Clara froze. She had barely enough to feed herself that week. Her rent was overdue, her electricity bill unpaid, and her stomach had been empty since noon. But when the boy looked up at her, she saw something, a quiet, hopeless resignation that pierced right through her heart. She reached into her bag and pulled out the sandwich she'd saved for dinner. Without a word, she knelt and handed it to him. He hesitated, as if afraid she might take it back, but she smiled, a gentle, tired smile, and said, "Go on, eat. It's yours." The boy devoured it within seconds, tears mixing with the rain. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice breaking. Clara stayed there with him under the flickering streetlight, asking where his parents were, where he lived. His answers were fragments. His mother had passed, his father had disappeared, and he'd been surviving on the streets for weeks. Something in Clara's chest twisted painfully. She didn't have much, but she couldn't walk away. "Come on," she said softly. "You can stay at my place tonight. It's small, but it's warm." That night, she gave him her blanket and slept on the couch, listening to his quiet breathing. When morning came, she made oatmeal from the last of her groceries. Over the next few days, she found him clean clothes from the thrift store and convinced the diner owner to let him help out for a few dollars. She even helped him register at the local shelter so he could have a chance at school again. The boy, his name was Noah, stayed in her life for a few months before the system took over. One day, he was gone. The shelter told her he'd been relocated to a foster program in another city. Clara cried quietly that night, staring at the old photo she'd taken of him smiling with a spoonful of oatmeal in his hand. Life went on, painfully slow, painfully ordinary, and she wondered often what had become of that boy with the broken voice and hopeful eyes. Years passed. Clara grew older, her hair carrying threads of gray. She still worked at the diner, still wore that same tired smile, but her heart had learned to live with quiet gratitude. Every now and then, she'd glance at that photo pinned to her fridge and whisper, "I hope you're doing well, kid." One winter evening, as she was closing the diner, a sleek black car pulled up outside. She didn't pay much attention until a tall man in a tailored suit stepped inside. He looked out of place, refined, powerful, yet strangely humble. His eyes scanned the room before landing on her. "Clara Thompson?" he asked softly. She blinked, confused. "Yes, that's me. Can I help you?" He smiled, and in that moment, something in his eyes made her heart stop. "You already did," he said, his voice trembling. "A long time ago." Her breath caught. "Noah?" He nodded, eyes glistening. "You saved me when no one else cared. I never forgot you." Clara covered her mouth, tears welling as the years melted away in an instant. He walked around the counter and hugged her tightly, the kind of embrace that spoke of gratitude words could never capture. "I looked for you for years," he said softly. "And when I finally found you, I promised myself I'd make sure you never struggled again." She tried to laugh through her tears. "You don't owe me anything, Noah. I was just doing what anyone should do." But Noah shook his head. "No, Clara. Most people walk past. You didn't. You saw me." Over the next weeks, Clara's life transformed. Noah, now a billionaire entrepreneur who had built his fortune from the ground up, insisted she quit the diner. He bought her a small but beautiful house, one with a garden, because she'd once told him she dreamed of planting flowers one day. He even opened a charitable foundation in her name, dedicated to helping homeless children, the Clara Hope Initiative. When journalists asked him about his success, he always told the same story. "I owe everything to a woman who gave up her dinner so I could eat." Clara often sat in her garden after that, surrounded by blooming lilies, watching the sun dip low. One afternoon, Noah visited, bringing his own little boy along. Clara smiled as the child ran to her, laughing, carefree. Do you ever think about that night? She asked. Every single day, Noah replied. It reminds me that kindness doesn't need wealth, it just needs heart. She looked at him with quiet pride. Then my heart did something right. And for the first time in many years, Clara felt full, not of riches, but of peace. The rain still came and went, as it always had. But somewhere, under brighter skies, the boy she once fed had grown into a man who fed thousands. And the woman who once had nothing left to give, discovered she had already given everything that mattered.